All right, welcome back to Musicians Edition. Today we're looking at number 58, the snare drum part, okay? So when we look at this part, we see we have some quarter notes, some eighth notes, not really all that big of a deal. We do see as we glance through there's a repeat at the end that will take us all the way back to the beginning, okay? The main thing that we want to probably keep an eye on in this part is the dynamics, right? You see we start forte, but then we bring it down to mezzo forte when we get to measure 2 on the eighth notes. So then the same thing applies when we get to measure 4 on the eighth notes. We drop it down to mezzo forte, crescendo back to forte. Same thing at measure 6, same thing at measure 8, okay? And then it gets a little bit different, and then at the very end we end with 1, 2, and 3, 4, right? So keep an eye on the dynamics, keep an eye on the rest as we work our way through this, okay? So let's first look at those crescendo measures, okay? So our first note is still going to be forte because that carries over from the last measure, right? So we're going to play one note forte, bring it down to mezzo forte, crescendo back up, right? It's not going to be a giant difference, right? We don't want to take it all the way down to piano, right? Because it just says mezzo forte. So bring it down a little bit and then bring it back up. Remember, the main way that we control dynamics on snare drum is with our stick height, right? So we're going to play the first one higher and the next one lower and then work our way back up to forte, okay? So let's try that measure. This is measure 2. It's also measure 4, 6, and measure 8, right? So we have 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and, right? Ready, go. Okay? And then we're kind of back into our 2s and 4s that we have the measure before that. All right, let's try that a couple times. I want you to think about after you play this note, getting both hands to the height that you want to play mezzo forte from, right? So from here down to here, right? Okay, again, just really adjusting those heights. Right, and the quicker you can get to that mezzo forte height, the better, right? Because then you have a little bit of space for your brain to kind of think about the dynamic before you have to play it, okay? So forte, get there as fast as you can, and then crescendo, okay? Let's try it one more time. Okay, now let's look at the very end, right? That last measure, we have 1, 2, and 3, 4. Let's try that rhythm. And ready, go. And you notice that is forte, right? And then we repeat back to the beginning, okay? Very similar to the tambourine part. When you repeat back to the beginning, you start with a rest. So you just have to kind of be careful as you play 1, 2, and 3, 4. Repeat all the way back to the beginning, but don't play anything on beat 1, and then play on beat 2. Okay? All right, so let's try the last 4 measures of this and kind of piece it together. And then you see that up until that point, right, the first 8 measures of the piece are just kind of a repeated 2-measure pattern, right? So it's rest 2, rest 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and rest 2, rest 4, right? We do that for 8 measures total, right? So 4 times through that pattern. But then the last 4 measures are a little bit different. So let's play that a couple of times. All right, so 4 measures from the end. And ready, go. Okay, let's try it one more time. 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3, rest. And then rest 2, rest 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4. And ready, go. All right, so now that we've kind of worked out those last 4 measures, we've worked out the dynamics, let's try this whole thing from the beginning, okay? Starts with a rest, remember. 1, 2, ready, go. Repeat. All right, so that's the snare drum part to number 58 of Essential Elements, Hard Rock Blues, right? Also, make sure you check out our suspended cymbal and tambourine video on this same line of the book for those parts as well. Okay? All right, happy practicing. I'll see you next time.